start to talk about it. I mean, in general, I would say that the subject matter is mostly local, although they're improvised in the studio. I don't use a photograph, or I don't sit outside and work. I'm not a plein air painter at all. And they come out of the process itself in the studio. So the encaustic comes in that way that it can be manipulated. You can brush it on, you can manipulate it afterwards, you can melt it, you can scrape it down, and there's no particular path that I can follow the next time, because everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has a different history underneath, which you kind of see with different colors that are underneath. This would be very yellow underneath here. That one had some kind of orangey color under there. And you hope that, or I hope that at some point the thing comes together, because a lot of times it's a real mess for a long time, and it makes me wonder what I'm doing. But the encaustic, while it's very difficult in many ways, it's not like a paint that's fluid. So you can't brush into a wet area. It's already hardened on the thing, so you can melt it. So you can melt it with a torch or a heat gun or a tool that's hot, but you may lose control over your image when you do that. So there's a delicate balance between kind of picking away at it with a small tool that might be hot or not. You can do a razor blade. I use a razor blade a lot to kind of shave the thing down, which might have done in here, and then melt it so you end up with a flat surface on top, because I didn't want a really pebbled surface. And this one down here, I didn't do that as much. So the cloud shapes are more laid on top in a very heavy way, and then melted a little bit, not melted down flat. So that seemed to work for that one. And the same thing with the texture down below. I wanted some lumpiness there. And here the same thing, as you can see the kind of marks on the ground that are the leftovers from farming, maybe, or maybe it's off season or something. And that sky is pretty smooth on the top. So I am interested in we're talking about the title was not of the show, was not in my mind so much, but I think it does apply to the kind of work I do, that the landscape is full of memories, and particularly farmland, and it leaves a mark on the ground that stays a long time, even if you don't farm anymore. And that you can see it leaves here. It's not really clear if there's something growing there or not, but you can see the divisions that are fields or roads or whatever. And this one came out of was done in the summertime. It was hot here, and it was really hot out west, where it kind of maybe suggests the idea of what it would look like if the whole thing was on fire, and the sky is very kind of hazy and smoky. This other one has kind of more vague fields, kind of melted in sky. So, the encaustic, the idea of working with this medium is really important to these pictures. I like when I put something down, I always want to fix it. It's not, they're like the opposite of doing a watercolor, where you got this piece of paper, got some liquid paint, you put it on, you might have to just leave it where it is. It's pretty hard to, when you start going over and over and over it, you get a completely different thing. You lose the freshness of it. With this, it's like the opposite. You can keep working on it forever. And the paint doesn't dry in the way oil paint does. It hardens, so the wax is still malleable again if you heat it up. So I could start working on them again anytime. And that's good and bad, because sometimes it's kind of hard to say something's done. And actually this, the opportunity to put these up on the wall came at a perfect time for these.
So how do you feel your compositions with encaustic are very different from your oil paintings, like the landscapes you do in oil?
Yeah.
And does scale play a role in that?
Yeah, that's interesting. The oil, I haven't done a landscape in oil for a couple of years, because I've been working on this, and I was working on a project where I was using acrylic paint, which was, I didn't get anywhere with the acrylic. It didn't suit me, but the project that I was working on, some things worked out. So if I was doing this in oil paint, I don't know. They just would. They would look completely different. It would be a different approach. I guess I would think that with the oil paint, they would have to be less developed in a way. I'd have to kind of get it right and leave it, rather than in the case of these encaustics where I can keep developing and keep working on it.
The early part of your painting career,
Yeah.
you were kind of really well known for doing these highly realistic oil paintings of still lifes, or almost this trompe l'oeil effect through a window.
Right.
And so how did you end up shifting to doing these very atmospheric, abstracted landscapes?
That's been quite a while since I did paintings like that had architectural elements in them, and interior spaces and windows and that sort of thing, and had that geometry in there. And I'm still attracted to that geometry, but I needed to have something that was a little less specific as a subject matter. And right around that time, I moved to this area where there's a much more of an open feeling of the sky and the land, which I didn't have so much where I lived near the water, so I did have the openness of the water. But this lent itself much more to to try to find the essence of the landscape in a simple way, but which had a dreamlike quality in a way. I guess is more what I was looking for, rather than something that's so specific, as I would do in a still life, or some other pictures that I did of the outdoors, but they usually would be framed by an architectural element, a window or a porch railing or something like that. So I think the idea of kind of making this up from memory in the studio gives it a kind of a dreamy atmosphere that's a little bit more complex in a way, even though the other pictures had a lot more details in them.
That's great.
Yeah, and I mean, all of these paintings have a beautiful bird's eye view.
Yeah.
So is that, I mean, when you moved to the Hudson Valley, did that perspective start coming into your work more to get that kind of more dreamy?
Yeah, I think it does come from the I like the I often try to raise my point of view a little bit. They don't have it so much in here, maybe that one, to kind of see a little bit more of the land by getting up high. If you're down low on the road, say, you sometimes can't really see the spread of the field. So I like high places, where you can look down. And no, they're definitely very affected by what the weather's like around here, the Hudson Valley thing. The sky is always interesting to me, I don't always end up with the sky that I start out to do, but it does end up being a sky that could be on a day around here.
Always evolving and changing.